Whenever somebody asks me a question about preparing for adventures and how do I get the courage to do it, right away I go back to my childhood. I was in like 5th grade when the family moved onto a farmstead, and we just rented the house. We weren't farmers. And we lived in the house. It was an active farmstead with all the buildings and all that going on. And I was in 5th grade, had an older brother, a younger brother, and we were 9 miles from town. And we had each other, and that's really what we had. So every day we would find things to do. Well, this farmstead was new to us, and so we would go out and start exploring. And there were all these buildings and everything to do. And then, we built tree houses in the trees. One day, my younger brother and I were eyeballing this windmill. Well, let's go up this thing. So parents were gone, went up there, but there was just nothing to do once we got to the top. At some point, you just realize that, you have this inner part of you that needs to be released a little bit. And it's kind of like a series of rainy days come upon that you're inside, it's cloudy, you're doing nothing, and all of a sudden it gets nice out. And when it gets nice out, you have this sudden burst of energy to go do something. It might be get on a motorcycle or whatever. So that's kind of what's going on in my inside a lot of the time. I have a need for adventure once in a while, and I feel that there's a squeeze on my soul if I don't get out and start doing something like that. So as a young adult, a few years later then, I got word that there was skydiving available in a nearby city, maybe 50 miles away, and I thought that'd be interesting to try that. So I called my younger brother and said, hey, meet me in this town at this little airport with a grass strip, and we'll try some skydiving. And of course he was up for it. So we get to this airport, and I think back on it now, it's of course this is early 1980s, and seems like pretty crude stuff. So the first thing they drag out is some Army surplus paracommander chutes that the military had used, they got from surplus. Then we're going through the instructions, and as you can see here, they show me how to exit the plane and stand on one wheel of the landing gear of the plane, and my left foot on that, my right foot trailing, and then when I break away from the plane, I can fall clear. Well, yeah, but the plane's doing 80 to 100 miles an hour to stay airborne, and so you're fighting that wind. You're trying to hang on to a wing strut that's up at an angle and is way bigger than what your hand could really grip tightly. So it's pretty crude when I look back on it, but we did it, and it seemed to go fine. Cleared the plane. I was on a static line that tripped it, my chute, so I automatically deployed. No free fall, just parachute down and take care of business. Well, what some people may not know is that when you're on a parachute or in a balloon, you are moving at the exact same speed as the wind, whatever the wind speed is. You're just moving with it. So you don't feel wind. So if you want to know which direction the wind is blowing from, you need to look straight down at the ground, especially when you're close enough. And you can see which way you're going. It's not that difficult, but you have to think to do it. And so I think because maybe of sensory overload more than anything, I didn't get that quite right. Came down with a hard hit. So if you turn into the wind, you can stall your parachute a little bit, soften the touch. But if you're going with the wind like I was, it's a pretty hard hit. And so I hit, it knocked me totally out. I'm on the ground. I come to, I have a gaggle of people hovering over me, looking down at me, and I get taken to the hospital and spent a day or two there with getting my ankle put back together, and so I have that to think back on, and so it's all about trying to get things right. I was continuing my education. I was in graduate school, and I had an opportunity to go to a lecture on this kind of very topic about taking opportunities that are adventuresome to you. And in that lecture at grad school, I remember one quote from Benjamin Franklin that said, "Many people die at age 25. They're not buried until about age 75. And I know what he meant by that. You just quit doing things as you mature, and the adventure a lot of times is lost. And I didn't want that to happen. So I just have tried to remember that, and I've put some lessons learned from the rest of that lecture along with my own experiences to kind of share with you today. And that is basically three things that come to mind. One is that know your equipment. There's almost always some kind of equipment or apparatus involved with what you're doing in these adventure activities. So know your equipment, and I'm talking about harnesses, ropes, the hardware to connect harnesses, the beaners, that kind of thing. Know what your parachute's all about. Well, I didn't have that knowledge when I did that first skydive, and things went wrong. So the number two item on that is to know the host, who else is involved with this adventure that you're taking on. Know the people, know what they know as much as you can. So now when I go out and do something that involves other people, I want to know about their expertise. I want to know how much history they have with it and technical things that the average person might not think to ask. It all starts to build confidence with me if I get that satisfied. The third item is knowing myself. What can I handle about this? What can I do to make things right? And by this, I'm talking about, like, for instance, if I'm going to do something that I know is all over YouTube, I'll get on YouTube, start playing all these videos of what these people are doing that I want to do, and I'll put them in slow-mo, and I'm checking out all the hardware, the tricks, how do they do this, how do they step into that, how do they come off of this, those kinds of things. And then the more repetition that I get with that, the more comfortable I get, and I'm more comfortable with me not getting overwhelmed by it all and keeping things in order and doing things the way they should be done. So those three things: the hardware, knowing the other party that's involved in it, and knowing yourself well enough. And this is what I'm talking about, is get immersed into it, learn what you're doing, and as you're doing that, you're chipping away at the little things that cause you to doubt it and cause you to maybe not want to do it. So if you're contemplating something new, and you know all sorts of people have done it, whether it's skydiving, bungee jumping, rafting down the Colorado River, whatever it is, there's all sorts of adventure out there. Immerse yourself into it and chip away at what's holding you back. If it doesn't help, then back away from it. You ought not to be doing it. Either get happy with it or back away from it. And I think, it's just important to do those kind of things and get you over the hump to do what you're seeing so many other people do. Bungee jumping is something that comes to mind that's part of my life. I had heard that there was bungee jumping off of a balloon out in Colorado, and I called a friend of mine and said, "Hey, want to go with me out to Colorado? Let's jump off of this balloon out there." And he jumped on it. We jumped in my car, did the drive out to Colorado, and so when I got out there, I did all the things that I'm telling you should probably do. So prior to going, I'm looking at all the pictures and everything I can of this. I'm looking at the equipment. What kind of harnesses are they doing? These are not ankle jumps like a lot of them are off of bridges and whatever. We actually have a harness around the waist, and so you're not hanging upside down once you're done with things. So I'm looking at all this kind of stuff. We get out there early. I talk to the owners. This is what I mean about the third party, the owners and the operators that are there. And I become confident about what they're doing. And I'm asking them questions in a nice way. They're responding with positive feedback that's very, very knowledgeable. They know what they're talking about. And that's a good thing. So I'm going through all the steps that I mentioned earlier. We go off the balloon. We have a blast doing it. And so my partner, who would soon become my partner in a business, my friend, he and I are driving back. It's a 16-hour drive to get home. And as part of that, it comes out of the conversation, well, let's just get a balloon and do this ourselves. So 3 weeks after we got home, we own a hot air balloon. And my partner's wife, we go into business, that's why I call him my partner, but my partner's wife says she'll agree to fly the balloon. And so we need 3 of us. So she gets her pilot's license for commercial flying the balloon, and she can fly the balloon, and my partner and I are doing all the stuff on the ground, and I'm up in the balloon helping people get off, and it's just a lot of fun. We did hundreds of these. I mean, hundreds. We did hundreds of them ourselves, and we got to the point we were so confident that I could go on and on about that. It was very, very good experience doing that. Later in life, I started doing other things. One thing leads to another, and I just want to go ahead and say that it's okay to continue to have some fear, and that's part of what adventurers often like, not always, but often, is a certain amount of fear, yet it's probably safe because you're watching so many other people do it. So like I say, if you're looking to get into this, it's kind of like watching a magician. When you're watching a magician, you're often amazed by what's going on. And I'm asking, just get beyond the amazement of it and look around. What's really making this work? What allows it to work beyond it just being amazing? So the next thing that comes along is I'm getting ready to turn 70 years old, and it's time for something new for me. So I decided that I could go skydiving. We were on a trip to Florida, and I could go skydiving and involve a free fall in this whole thing. And free falling's a little different than just going off with your parachute. So you'll eventually open it. But so I started learning. I started doing all the things I'm talking about here. Call the company, make arrangements to schedule the flight, and get everything done. So I get there early. I'm looking at everything I can. There's 200 people doing the skydives that day. I watched probably 50. come down, come in on their landings. I watch them leave for their takeoffs. I look at their equipment. I even go into the warehouse building where they're packing the parachutes for the next dive. And I'm watching. I'm just trying to learn. I'm not trying to convince myself as much as what can I learn that's a little bit extra that might help this along. I did a tandem dive on this because of the technical part of the free fall. And so I talked to my guy who would be my partner in my tandem dive, and I said, first thing I questioned, how many of these have you done? It was over 12,000. And I go, okay, your life's on the line as much as mine. You've done 12,000 of these. We're in pretty good shape here. So he keeps talking to me. I keep gaining more and more confidence. We go up in the plane. We go up to 13,000 feet. That's a pretty high getting out of the plane. 13,000, we jump out. We do an 8,000 foot free fall. So here you can see pictures of that free fall with my tandem partner with me. I had a videographer right there with me, right in my face, shooting some of this stuff. And as you can see through some of this, that I'm learning how to do spin circles up there and do different maneuvers in a free fall that you wouldn't necessarily do in just diving. So the videographer breaks away, speeds up, goes down. We open our chutes, and he has the pictures of us shooting coming in. Not the prettiest landing in the world, but certainly didn't get hurt doing it, and it all worked out really well. So I did that, and things are going along. I'm doing other little things, create adventure in my life. And then my most recent one that I will tell you about is a little different maybe. That is doing a rope swing off of a canyon out in Utah. So as soon as my son told me about this, I decided this is something I need to check into. I'm ready for a release. So I start checking in on it. There's a ton of YouTubes on these rope swings. You can get in a lot of information doing that. I call the company, I talk to the owner, I schedule a commitment to it, and I get out there, and it was pretty fun. My wife went with me on this one, and she had a blast with it, so did I, but we staged 11 miles before getting to the canyon. So in these shots, it just shows us driving 11 miles out cross country. Some over not huge boulders, but some smaller boulders, ledges, that kind of thing. Just doing some ATV to get out to the top of Day Canyon. We get out there and we unload the Jeeps and walking out to the canyon wall, and the owner says, well, just wait here about 20 minutes. We need to figure out a few things and finish up getting ready for this. And so I took that opportunity while the rest of them were just visiting. I went out on my own and started exploring the anchors for the ropes and cables, and looking at the ropes. And they got 4,000 pound tension ropes. They've got a backup redundant system in place all along. So in addition to that 4,000 pound rope, I have a second rope. And in case the first one for some reason messes up. So I'm checking out the harnesses and all this. And they, of course, make sure that they're using good stuff because their reputation's on the line as well. So all of this repetition of learning equipment and the other party and knowing what I know myself, it really settles your mind and gets you a little more comfortable with all of it. So that's what I'm talking about, overcoming the fear to do these adventurous activities out there. So there you have it. from someone my age who's kind of done all sorts of different little things, I guess. We get in our Jeeps, take this 11-mile drive back to the staging area, and that pretty well concludes that. So my advice is to figure out what gets you over the hump. Get out. There is so much going on in the world today that there is no end to it. Thousands of people are doing it every day. And so start getting into it, see what you can figure out, and make it happen. And I look forward to seeing some of you out there, and I hope I keep doing it, and I hope you're there.